The unexpected encounter. The hangar was silent except for the low hum of broken engines. The human engineer worked alone, sweat rolling down his forehead as sparks jumped from the damaged ship in front of him. His hands shook slightly as he tightened a tool against a glowing panel. The air smelled of burnt metal and oil. He had been ordered to fix this ship before dawn. The war outside the colony had pushed every human mechanic to their limit. Still, he preferred silence over the chaos of battle. The hangar was his safe place, or so he thought. As he leaned forward to adjust a cable, he suddenly felt a presence behind him. The air shifted, like someone was standing too close. He froze. His tool pressed against something soft, warm, alive. His breath caught in his throat. A voice whispered with calm confidence, "Relax, I'm a mechanic." He spun around fast. His eyes widened. In front of him stood a tall figure unlike any human. Her skin shimmered faint silver, her eyes glowing faint blue like distant stars. She smiled, not afraid, not angry, only calm. The human's heart pounded, his tool still in his hand. His mind raced with questions. Who was she? How did she get inside? Was she enemy or ally? "You should not be here," he muttered, his voice low but sharp. Her smile did not fade. She tilted her head. "Neither should you, human. These engines are not safe. They will collapse if you force them like this." Confusion spread across his face. He had trained for years. He knew engines. Yet the way she looked at the machine, it was as if she had known it since birth. He stepped back slowly. His boots echoed against the empty hangar floor. His eyes never left her. He expected guards to rush in, alarms to sound, but the hangar stayed quiet. Only her steady breathing and that strange smile filled the space. "Who are you?" he demanded, gripping his tool like a weapon. "Someone who knows machines better than you," she said softly. "And right now, you are pressing your tool against me instead of the panel." Her words carried both humor and warning. Heat rushed to his face as he pulled the tool back quickly. He had not even realized how close he had leaned. She chuckled, not mocking, but light, playful, like she found amusement in his nervousness. The human felt torn. Part of him wanted to call security. Another part wanted to listen to her. There was something in her eyes, something that did not belong to an enemy, something too calm, too certain. "How did you enter here?" he asked, his tone harder now. She walked past him slowly, her long fingers brushing the broken wires with careful touch. Sparks faded as if the ship itself respected her presence. "Doors are not built only for humans. I know their secrets. I know where to step. I know how to listen," she explained. He frowned. "That does not answer anything." Her smile deepened. "Maybe it answers more than you think, human." For a moment he stood frozen. His mind screamed at him to act, to push her away, yet his hands did not move. His chest tightened with both fear and strange curiosity. The alien woman leaned closer to the engine panel. "If you continue this way, your ship will not last 5 minutes in battle," she said. Her tone was not mocking. It was warning. It was certain. He narrowed his eyes. "And you know this how?" She glanced back at him, her glowing eyes locked with his. "Because I built engines like these long before you were born." The hangar light flickered above them, shadows danced on the walls. He realized in that moment that this was no ordinary intruder. This was someone who held knowledge that could change everything. But knowledge came with danger. If she was telling the truth, she was valuable. If she was lying, she was deadly. He gripped his tool tighter, his voice steady though his heart was not. "Then prove it." The mechanic's smile widened. "I already have," she whispered. She tapped a wire and suddenly the ship's core hummed to life, stronger than before, smoother than his own repair work had ever managed. The human's eyes widened in shock, his fear mixed with awe. In that silent hangar, under the flickering lights, he knew his world had just changed, but he did not know if it was for better or worse. The alien mechanic's secret, the hum of the engine echoed through the hangar, stronger now, alive. The human stood frozen, watching the glowing lines across the ship's frame. He had worked on dozens of ships, but none had ever responded like this. Not to him, not to any human mechanic. The alien woman stepped back slowly, her hands still faintly glowing from the contact. She brushed invisible dust from her palms and gave that same small smile, calm, certain. "You see, human," she said gently. "Machines speak. You only have to know how to listen." The human swallowed hard. His thoughts raced. Every training manual, every lesson, every hour spent fixing engines felt small compared to the simple way she had touched one wire and awakened the ship. "This isn't possible," he whispered, more to himself than to her. "It is not only possible," she replied, tilting her head. "It is necessary, or your people will lose this war." Her words hit him like a cold blade. He stepped back, gripping his tool tighter. "Who are you, really? Why would you care about our war?" She moved closer, her glowing eyes never leaving his face. "Because if your kind falls, mine will be next. Enemies do not stop at one border. They consume everything." The human narrowed his eyes. He had heard of alien refugees, but none were allowed inside human bases. None were trusted near military craft. Yet here she was, standing in the center of a restricted hangar, repairing a ship better than any human could. "Your comma, Anders will never believe you," he muttered, shaking his head. "They'll lock you up, or worse." Her expression did not change, but her voice grew softer. "That is why I came to you, human, not to them." He stared at her, a storm of doubt in his chest. Why him? He was no officer, just another mechanic forced into service. He had no authority, no power. "Why me?" he finally asked, his voice quiet. She turned back to the ship, running her hand across the frame as if it were a living creature. "Because you listen before you speak. Because your hands fix what others break. And because you are not blind with pride like so many of your kind." He opened his mouth to argue, but the words froze on his lips. There was something in the way she said it, a weight, a truth that struck deep. Still, his fear lingered. If she was right, she could help them win. If she was wrong, she could destroy everything from within. She looked at him again, her glowing eyes searching his. "Do you trust me, human?" He felt his chest tighten. Trust was not given in war. Trust was a weapon. Yet in that moment, looking at the alien mechanic, hearing the certainty in her voice, part of him wanted to say yes. But before he could answer, the sound of heavy boots echoed through the hangar doors. "Guards," their voices sharp. "Check the engines. No one leaves until inspection is complete." Panic flashed in his eyes. He turned to warn her, but she was already moving. Her body slid between shadows, silent as smoke. Within seconds, she vanished behind a support beam, unseen. The guards entered, scanning the hangar. One looked at the ship and frowned. "Strange, I thought this one was dead," he muttered. "But it looks alive." The human forced himself to steady his breath. "I fixed it," he said quickly. "Took longer than expected, but it's stable now." The guard eyed him with suspicion, then shrugged. "Good. We'll eat every ship when the enemy arrives." The human nodded, his heart pounding as the guards finally left. The moment their footsteps faded, the alien mechanic stepped out of the shadows, her smile unshaken. "You lied for me," she said softly, almost amused. He exhaled sharply. "Don't mistake that for trust. I only did it to protect myself." Her smile grew. "Of course, human. Of course." She walked back to the ship, her fingers brushing the still glowing core. "But now you see what I can do, and you know what I offer." The human stood in silence, torn between fear and wonder. His world had shifted in one night, and nothing would be the same, trust or trap. The hangar lights dimmed as night cycle took over. The human stood alone with the alien mechanic, silence pressing between them. Outside the walls of the base, distant thunder rolled, but it was not weather. It was warships moving in the dark sky. He rubbed his temples, trying to clear his thoughts. This was madness. An alien inside a human base, fixing ships as if she owned them. One mistake, one word to the wrong officer, and both of them would be finished. "You're dangerous," he said finally, his voice low. "If anyone finds you here, I'll be blamed, not you." She tilted her head, her faint silver skin catching the glow of the engine. "Dangerous, yes, but not to you, human. If I wished you harm, your fleet would already be ash." The words sent a chill down his spine. They carried no arrogance, only truth, that frightened him more than a threat ever could. Before he could reply, the hangar shuddered. A loud metallic crack echoed from above. He looked up sharply. A power conduit burst, sparks raining down like fire. The ship beside him shook. Alarms screamed. He jumped back, pulling her with him instinctively. "What did you do?" he shouted over the noise. She glared at him, offended. "Not me, human. Someone else." The alarms cut off as suddenly as they began, as smoke curled from the ceiling, but the danger passed. Still his heart hammered in his chest. "Sabotage," she whispered, scanning the beams. "Your enemies are already here, inside." He clenched his fists. "You expect me to believe that?" Her glowing eyes locked with his, sharp, unblinking. "Do you think explosions happen by accident when I stand beside you?" The question cut deep, but before he could answer, heavy footsteps echoed again. Not guards this time. Engineers, men he knew from training. They entered with grim faces, scanning the wreckage. One of them looked straight at him, suspicion in his eyes. Strange. Everything was stable before, then suddenly... His gaze shifted toward the half-hidden shadow where the alien mechanic stood, but she moved deeper into the dark, unseen. The human forced himself to stay calm. "The conduit was weak. I was about to reinforce it when it snapped." His words came out steady, though sweat burned his forehead. The men exchanged doubtful looks, but after a moment they nodded and left to check the rest of the hangar. When the doors closed, silence returned. He turned to her sharply. "This is exactly what I feared. I'll lose everything if you're caught." She stepped closer, her smile faint but steady. "And you'll lose even more if you ignore me, human. That was not random. It was a warning. Someone does not want this ship to fly again." He frowned, her words sinking deeper than he wanted to admit. There had been whispers about spies, saboteurs hiding inside the colony. But no proof, only rumors. Now he was standing with the one being who might know the truth. "Why should I trust you?" he asked, his voice rough. "For all I know, you caused it to make me believe you." Her expression softened. "Trust is not given, human. It is built. Let me show you. Allow me one chance. If I fail, you can turn me in." He studied her, his mind torn in two. To trust her was madness, but not trusting her might cost them everything. Finally he nodded once, sharp. "One chance." Her smile returned, brighter this time. "That is all I need." She moved to the damaged conduit, her fingers brushing the blackened wires, closing her eyes as though listening. Then she whispered words in a language he could not understand. The metal shifted beneath her touch, wires reformed, sparks died, and the alarms faded to silence. When she stepped back, the system was whole again, stronger than before. He stared in disbelief. "How?" She raised a hand, stopping his question. "Machines are alive in their own way, human. They remember who respects them. They obey those who care for them. That is why your kind struggles. You see only parts. I see the heart." For a long moment he said nothing. His chest rose and fell as he tried to breathe through the storm inside him. Her words unsettled him, but the truth was undeniable. She had saved the ship. Twice. Still, another voice whispered in his head. "Or maybe she's guiding you into a trap." The hangar lights flickered again. Shadows stretched across the walls. He looked at her, standing calmly beside the glowing engine, and realized the truth he did not want to face. Whether she was friend or foe, his fate was already tied to hers. Shadows in the sky. The hangar floor trembled beneath his boots, faint at first, then stronger. The human froze, listening. That was no storm, no machinery. It was the sound of engines outside, heavy engines. The alien mechanic looked up sharply, her glowing eyes narrowing. "They're here," she whispered. His heart pounded. "The enemy." She nodded slowly. "Scouts first, warships next." He rushed to the control panel on the wall, pulling up the exterior feed. The screen flickered, static lines breaking across the display. Then the image cleared, a dark sky filled with silent shapes, shadows moving against the stars. They weren't close yet, but they were. Coming. He swallowed hard, fear clawing up his chest. The colony wasn't ready. The ships here were broken, the defenses weak. If the enemy struck now, they'd burn everything to the ground. "We have to warn command," he said quickly, his voice urgent. "They'll call the fleet." She stepped in front of him, calm but firm. "If you tell them now, they'll panic. They'll launch half-repaired ships and lose them in minutes. Listen to me, human. I can make this ship fight, but I need time." He stared at her, torn in two. His training screamed at him to follow orders, to run straight to command. Yet something about her voice, steady, certain, held him in place. "You expect me to ignore protocol?" he asked, his words sharp. She leaned closer, her glowing eyes locking with his. "I expect you to save lives, Choose." The hangar lights flickered again, the power grid struggling from the earlier sabotage. He clenched his fists, his throat dry. If he trusted her, and she betrayed him, the colony would burn. If he didn't trust her, and she was right, the colony would still burn. A voice crackled through the comm, breaking his thoughts. "All engineers, report status. Enemy signals detected. Priority to launch readiness." He froze, staring at the comm. Then slowly he pressed the button, his voice steady, though his chest shook inside. "Hangar 12, repair in progress, not ready for launch." There was silence on the other end, then the voice replied. "Copy. You have 30 minutes. Make it fly or we lose ground." The human dropped the comm, his hands trembling. He had just bought them half an hour. He looked at her sharply. "That's all you get." Her smile returned, faint but sure. "Then we will use every second." She moved fast, faster than any human mechanic he had ever seen. Her hands flew across panels, wires, conduits. Each touch brought the ship more alive. The glow inside the frame pulsed stronger with each movement. He worked beside her, his own hands struggling to keep up. Sweat dripped into his eyes. The tension was crushing. The countdown in his head never stopped. "Why are you helping us?" he muttered between breaths, his voice low but sharp. She didn't pause. "Because I know the enemy, human. I've seen what they do to worlds. They strip them bare. They erase them. If your kind falls, my kind is next, and then nothing will remain." The weight of her words sank deep. He glanced at her, her face glowing in the engine's light. For the first time he saw not just a stranger, but someone carrying her own scars. Still, fear lingered in him, fear that he was being pulled into something far greater than he could control. A sudden explosion rocked the colony, the walls of the hangar shaking. Dust rained from the ceiling, red alarms blared across the base. The human's breath caught. His comm crackled again. "Enemy fighters in orbit. Defensive systems engaged. All hands, prepare." The alien mechanic looked at him, her voice calm despite the chaos. "We don't have 30 minutes anymore, human. We have 10. His chest tightened. He looked at the half-repaired ship, wires still hanging low. See, panels glowing half-dead. It wasn't ready. Not yet, but neither was he. The hidden blueprint, the alarms still screamed across the base. The human wiped sweat from his forehead, his breath heavy. The ship before him was alive but not whole. He knew it could not face a warship in this state. The alien mechanic crouched low near the glowing core, her long fingers moving over panels with strange precision. She whispered words again in her unknown tongue. The lights across the ship flickered. Then something new appeared. Lines of blue symbols spread across the hull like veins of light, glowing faint but sharp. The human stepped back in shock. "What is that?" Her eyes lifted to his, calm but serious. "The truth." He frowned, his chest tight. "What truth?" She stood and placed her hand against the shining symbols. "This ship was not built only by humans. Long before your war began, our kind worked together. You do not know it, but every core like this carries a hidden design, a blueprint inside the metal, locked away until one of us calls it awake." His breath caught. He stared at the ship, the glowing veins shifting like living code. "You mean, we've been flying with alien technology this whole time?" Her faint smile returned. "Not alien, human and alien together. A partnership forgotten by war." The words hit him hard. The training manuals, the history lessons. They had always spoken of human invention, human strength. Now he saw proof with his own eyes that the truth was deeper. "But why hide it?" he asked, his voice rough. "Why keep this secret?" Her tone lowered, carrying weight. "Because your leaders wanted pride more than survival, and my people wanted safety more than trust. So the bond was broken, the knowledge buried." He shook his head, his chest burning. If what she said was true, then everything he had believed was a lie. His people had fought wars blind, nay, knowing the power already in their hands. She stepped closer, her glowing eyes steady. "I can unlock it fully, human. But you must help me. The ship will listen to me, but it will obey only if a human stands with me. That was part of the bond. Machines require both voices." He stared at her, doubt and fear tearing inside him. If he helped, he could save his colony. If he refused, they would fall. But helping her meant betraying the rules, breaking trust with his own commanders. The walls shook again. Another blast from outside. Dust rained from above. The comm crackled. "Hangar 12, status report. We need that ship now." He grabbed the comm, his voice harsh. "Not ready. Give us more time." The voice on the other end was sharp. "There is no more time. Enemy fighters are landing." His hands trembled as he dropped the comm. His eyes met hers. Her calm expression never wavered. "Then decide, human. Do we fight together, or do we die apart?" He closed his eyes for one brief moment. His heart screamed with fear, but his mind saw only one path. He opened them again, jaw tight. "What do I do?" Her smile grew, not mocking, but filled with relief. "Stand beside me." She pressed both hands flat against the glowing hull. Her voice flowed in her alien tongue. The blue veins pulsed brighter. The human placed his hand next to hers. At first, nothing happened. Then the ship shuddered. A low roar filled the hangar. The lights across its frame blazed. The hidden blueprint surged awake. Panels sealed themselves, wires realigned, engines roared with a strength he had never heard. The broken craft became something new, something alive. His eyes widened, awe flooding his chest. This isn't repair, this is rebirth." She nodded, her voice steady. "Now it will fight, now it will survive." But before he could take in the wonder, the hangar doors shook violently, explosions boomed outside. The enemy had landed. The sound of Metsai, tearing echoed down the corridor, soldiers shouting, weapons firing. The human's stomach dropped. They were out of time. The alien mechanic looked at him, her smile faint but fierce. "Then let us see if trust can win a war." Fire and betrayal. The hangar doors groaned under the weight of explosions outside. Dust rained down in clouds, and the red alarms screamed louder than ever. The human gripped his tool like a weapon, though he knew it would be useless if the enemy broke through. The alien mechanic stood calm beside the glowing ship. Her silver skin shimmered against the light of the awakened blueprint. Her eyes locked on the door as if she had expected this moment all along. The human's chest pounded. Voices rose outside, human soldiers running, shouting, "Enemy breach! Hold the line, hold the line!" He turned to her sharply, his voice rough. "If they see you, they'll kill you before asking questions, or they'll kill me for hiding you." Her smile did not fade. Then let them see me, human. If your people cannot trust their own ally, they will never survive what is coming. Before he could argue, the hangar doors cracked open with a thunderous blast. Flames rolled inside. Enemy drones swarmed through the smoke, metal insects with glowing red eyes. Their weapons sparked as they scanned for targets. The human raised his tool like a club, ready to fight, though fear churned in his stomach. But before he could strike, the alien mechanic raised her hand. A wave of blue light pulsed from her fingers. The ship responded instantly. A shockwave burst outward, slamming into the drones, scattering them across the floor in a shower of sparks. The human stared in disbelief, his mouth dry. She had just saved them, but the sound of heavy boots echoed behind him. Not enemies, humans. A squad of soldiers stormed into the hangar, rifles raised. Their leader's voice was sharp. "Stand! Down! Identify yourself!" His eyes darted to the alien mechanic and his face twisted with rage. "You brought her here!" The human stepped forward, his voice shaking. "She's helping. She repaired the ship. She saved me." The commander's eyes narrowed. "She's the saboteur. She must be. No one else could have breached this hangar." The alien mechanic's calm never broke. She lowered her hand, her glowing eyes fixed on the humans. "If I wanted your destruction, you would already be ash. Look at the ship. Look at what I have given you." The commander ignored her, his rifle steady. His voice thundered. "Step away from her now, engineer. That's an order." The human's heart raced. Sweat dripped down his temple. Obeying meant betraying her. Resisting meant betraying his own people. His voice cracked. "She's not the enemy, sir. She's the only reason this ship is alive. Without her, we lose." The commander's jaw tightened. His finger rested against the trigger. "You've been compromised. She's using you." The alien mechanic finally stepped forward, her voice low but firm. "If you truly believe I am a threat, then shoot. But your bullets will not stop what comes through those skies." She gestured toward the distant roar outside, louder now, closer. "Decide, human commander, trust or death." The tension snapped like a live wire. One soldier flinched, another raised his rifle higher. For a breath, the human thought they would fire. He stepped in front of her, his voice breaking but fierce. "If you shoot her, you shoot me too." The hangar fell into stunned silence. The commander's eyes burned with fury, but before he could speak, the enemy slammed into the colony again. The ground shook. Fire burst across the sky through the half-open hangar doors. The ship behind them roared to life, its engines blazing, its frame glowing brighter. The blueprint lines pulsed like a heartbeat. The alien mechanic's voice rose, sharp and commanding. "There is no more time. Either you trust me now, or you die here." The commander's face twisted, torn between rage and survival. Finally, he lowered his weapon with a curse. "Fine. But if you betray us, alien, I'll put you down myself." The human's chest loosened as breath rushed back into him. He glanced at her, her smile faint, but her glowing eyes carried something deeper, relief, and maybe respect. Outside, the enemy's warships descended lower. Their shadows stretched long across the burning sky. The human knew the real battle was only seconds away. The final test. The sky outside burned red as enemy warships descended. Their shadows swallowed the colony. The hangar shook with every blast. Dust fell in waves from the ceiling. The human stood at the center of the chaos, his chest tight. His people did not trust the alien mechanic, yet they had no choice. The ship they had awakened was the only chance left. The alien mechanic placed her glowing hands on the hull. The blueprint veins flared brighter, pulsing like living fire. The ship responded to her voice, its engines humming deep and powerful. The commander barked orders to his squad. "Hold the line until launch." His eyes cut to the mechanic with suspicion, but he did not raise his weapon again. Survival left no space for pride. The human climbed into the cockpit, his heart pounding. He had flown before, but never in a machine alive like this one. The controls glowed faint blue, waiting for his touch. He hesitated, then laid his hand on the console. The ship reacted instantly. Lights surged across the frame. The engines roared louder. The mechanic's voice rang out. It listens to you now, human. Together we can make it fight. Another explosion tore through the hangar doors. Enemy drones swarmed in, red eyes burning. The soldiers opened fire. Sparks and smoke filled the air. The commander shouted, "Launch now!" The human gritted his teeth and pressed forward. The ship lifted, shaking too. He ground beneath it. Flames scattered across the floor as the hangar roof split open. The night sky. Nightmare. 3 massive enemy warships lowering over the colony, their weapons glowing hot. Fear clamped his chest. He had never faced power like this, but then he heard her voice beside him, calm and steady. "Do not fear, human. Trust the machine. Trust me." The ship's wings spread wide. Energy flowed through the blueprint veins like lightning. He gripped the controls, and the mechanic raised her hand in sync. The ship answered with a roar. Enemy fighters swarmed, fast and deadly. The human twisted the controls, and the ship moved like no craft he had ever flown, smooth, sharp, alive. It dodged beams with ease. It fired blasts of pure light that cut through drones in seconds. The commander's voice shouted over comms, disbelief in his tone. "Impossible. That ship is fighting like 10 at once." The human barely heard him. Sweat poured down his face as he fought. The mechanic's voice guided him. "Left. Now dive. Strike their flank." He obeyed, and every time the ship moved as though it already knew. Enemy fighters exploded one by one. Sparks rained through the dark sky, but the warships were still there. Their massive cannons charged, aiming down at the colony. One shot would end everything. The human's throat tightened. "We can't stop that." The mechanic's glowing eyes turned fierce. "Yes, we can, but it will test us both." She pressed her hand deeper into the console. The blueprint veins flared so bright they lit the entire cockpit. The ship shook as energy surged through its core. "What are you doing?" he shouted. "Unlocking its heart," she whispered. "But it needs you too. Speak to it, human. Tell it what you need." He stared at the controls, at the glowing lines, waiting for his voice. His chest trembled, but then he shouted, "Protect them. Protect us all." The ship roared in answer, energy built to a deafening hum. The mechanic's voice joined his, alien words blending with his cry. Together their voices filled the cockpit. The ship released its power. A beam of white light burst from its core, tearing through the night sky. It struck the lead enemy warship, cutting through its armor like paper. The massive vessel split apart, exploding in a storm of fire. The second and third warships faltered, pulling back, their fighters scattered in panic. The colony below erupted in cheers. The human sat frozen, his chest heaving, his hands shook on the controls. He looked at her. The alien mechanic was smiling, tired, but proud. "You see, human," she said softly, "trust can win a war." He swallowed hard, emotion choking him. For the first time, he believed her. The commander's voice crackled in his ear, no longer sharp with suspicion, but heavy with awe. "Whatever she is, keep her alive. We owe her everything." The human turned back to the sky, watching the last of the enemy retreat into darkness. The ship glowed steady beneath his hands, alive, powerful. In that moment, he knew the battle was only the beginning, but he also knew one truth: he was no longer alone. The end. Enjoyed the story? Like it and subscribe for more.